Good morning, Sir Hans. Good morning, classmates.
Are you ready for fun and exciting science lesson? So I am Kayla D. Siliago.
So, I am Junilin Malincon.
I am Rean Lauraya.
So I am Monsul Llamado and we're here to discuss the structure of fundamental of monosaccharide and polysaccharide.
But first, let me ask you a question. What is your favorite food? We all know that we the people have commonly want a food with sweets and most content is sugars. Food is a source of large molecules that we need for life, called biomolecules. And these biomolecules consist of four major biomolecules that make up the life. And carbohydrates are one of them. Did you know carbohydrates and sugar are in the same class of molecules? Great! Carbohydrates or carbs are sugar molecules along with the protein and fats, which can be found in food and drinks. And this is called the simple sugars are the simplest form of sugars. And for it to function properly, we need this biomolecule, the monosaccharides and the polysaccharides. And that's the focus of our discussion for today. But let's learn about monosaccharide first. So what is monosaccharide? Monosaccharide. These are the monomeric unit of carbohydrates that polymerize to form a polysaccharide. Monosaccharide, also called the simple sugars, are the simplest form of sugars and the most basic units of carbohydrates. They are usually colorless, water-soluble, and crystalline solids. And also the sweet tasty because the sugar is the most abundant content of this. They can be dissolved in water and occur as a syrups or a liquid sugar. Just like the other carbohydrates, monosaccharides are organic compounds. They contain carbon covalently bound to other atoms, especially carbon and carbon to hydrogen. This means that they cannot be broken down any further into smaller sugars by hydrolysis. Nevertheless, monosaccharides can combine with each other to form more complex types. Let's have common monosaccharide examples. These are the building blocks are simple sugars such as fructose, which can be found in sugar molecules, glucose that can be found in fruits, and also the lactose that can be found in a milk. Always remember that the OSE is equals to sugar. And this OSE and sugar is equals to carbohydrates. Like for example, the glucose, fructose, lactose, and other molecules like such as with O's in the end.
Monosaccharides have many functions within cells. First and foremost, monosaccharides are used to produce and store energy. Most organisms create energy by breaking down the monosaccharide glucose and harvesting the energy released from the bonds. Other monosaccharides are used to form long fibers, which can be used as a form of cellular structure, and plants create cellulose to serve this function, while some bacteria can produce a similar cell wall from slightly different polysaccharides. Even animal cells, on the other hand, surround themselves with a complex matrix of polysaccharides, and all made from smaller monosaccharides. All monosaccharides have the same general formula of CH2ON, which designates a central carbon molecule bonded to two hydrogens and one oxygen. The oxygen will also bond to a hydrogen, creating a hydroxyl group. Because carbon can form four bonds, several of these carbon molecules can bond together. Some of the carbons in the chain will form a double bond with an oxygen, which is called a carbonyl group. If this carbonyl occurs at the end of the chain, the monosaccharide is in the aldose family. If the carboxyl group is in the middle of the chain, the monosaccharide is in the ketose family. This is a picture of glucose. Glucose is one of the most common monosaccharides in nature, used by nearly every form of life. This simple monosaccharide is composed of 6 carbons, each labeled in the image. The first carbon is the carbonyl group. Because it is at the end of the molecule, glucose is in the aldose family. Typically, monosaccharides with more than 5 carbons exist as rings in solutions of water. The hydroxyl group on the 5th carbon will react with the first carbon. The hydroxyl group gives up its hydrogen atom when it forms a bond with the first carbon. The double-bonded oxygen on the first carbon bonds with a new hydrogen when the second bond with the carbon is broken. This forms a fully connected and stable ring of carbons.
Let's now discuss polysaccharide. A polysaccharide is a large molecule made of many smaller monosaccharide. And I know that you already know monosaccharide because it is already discussed by Miss Manlincon and Miss Liego. A polysaccharide is also called glycan, and it can be homopolysaccharide in which all the monosaccharides are the same, or a heteropolysaccharide in which the monosaccharides vary. The process of condensing many similar molecules to form large molecules is identified as polymerization. And you also have what we so-called condensation, so it is the reaction in which water molecules is released as a byproduct. Starch, cellulose, and glycogen are the types of polysaccharide, which is formed from the condensation of many glucose molecules. Starch is one of the most important sources of carbohydrates in our food. It occurs commonly present in vegetable foods such as cereals, potatoes, etc. However, starch is not formed or stored by animals. Starch is made up of very large numbers of glucose molecules condensed together to form chains of glucose units. Cellulose are types of carbohydrates that makes up cell walls of plants, and it is similar to starch as it consists of glucose units linked together to form straight chains. Humans cannot digest cellulose, but it forms the bulk of undigested matter usually consists of fiber. This fiber is important to the proper functioning of the large intestine. Glycogen is sometimes referred to as animal starch. It is a stored form of carbohydrates in animals and also in fungi. In mammals, it is mainly stored in the liver. And in the muscles, it forms when numerous glucose molecules condense to form highly branched chains of glucose units. Glycogen and starch are suitable as storage materials due to many reasons. Some of these are because they are large and insoluble in water, so they do not change osmotic pressure in the cells. Due to their size, they are unable to diffuse through the cell membrane and can easily be hydrolyzed when needed.
All polysaccharides are formed by the basic process where monosaccharides are connected via glycosidic bonds. These glycosidic bonds consist of an oxygen molecule bridging two carbon rings. The bond is formed when the hydroxyl group is lost from the carbon of one molecule, while the hydrogen is lost by the hydroxyl group of another monosaccharides because two molecules of hydrogen and one of the oxygen are expelled. The reaction is the dehydration of reaction.
I hope you have learned a lot from our discussion for today. Again, what is our topic for today?
The structure of fundamental monosaccharide and polysaccharide.
Thank you and God bless.